Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Series 9 of Tuck In Tuesday, our Rayana's weekly bedtime bilingual story. As you know, I love reading, and research tells us that children who read will become adults who think, and readers become leaders. What do you want to be when you grow up? Why is reading important to you? And what kind of leader do you want to be? Well, these are just a few questions that I would encourage you to think about as you delve into this week's story time, where our bedtime reading will fill you with awe and wonder of the world around us. Remember to tuck in tight with someone you love and enjoy our stories before you go to sleep. Good night and God bless.
Evening, boys and girls. My name is Miss Asha, and this evening I am going to be reading part 2 of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter.
مرحبا بكم أصدقائي الصغار في قصتنا المسائية. قصتنا اليوم هي الأرنب بيتر بقلم الكاتب باتريكس بوتر. تقرأها لكم مس بيان.
Mr. McGregor, quite sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hidden underneath a flower pot, he began to turn them over carefully, looking under each. Presently, Peter sneezed. Achoo! Mr. McGregor was after him in no time.
كان السيد ماكيغرور متأكد تماما من أن بيتر في مكان ما في غرفة الأدوات. ربما كان مختبئ تحت أواني الزهور. بدأ يقلبهم واحد تلو الآخر وينظر تحت كل منهم. بنفس الوقت أصدر بيتر صوت عطسة فسمعها السيد ماكيغرور ولاحقه على الفور.
And tried to put his foot upon Peter, who jumped out of a window, upsetting 3 plants. The window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired of running after Peter. He went back to his work.
وكان السيد ماكيغرور يحاول أن يدعس على بيتر الذي ما لبث أن قفز من النافذة. كانت النافذة صغيرة جدا للسيد ماكيغرور، وقد سئم من الركض خلف بيتر، فعاد إلى عمله.
Peter sat down to rest. He was out of breath and trembling with fright, and he had not the least idea which way to go. Also, he was very damp sitting in that can. After a time, he began to wander about, going lippity-lippity, not very fast, and looking around.
جلس بيتر ليستريح قليلا. كان يلهث بأنفاسه ويرتجف من الخوف، ولم يكن لديه أدنى فكرة عن طريق العودة، كما أنه كان مبللا. بعد فترة من الوقت بدأ يتجول. لم يكن سريعا، هو فقط يمشي.
He found a door in a wall, but it was locked, and there was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath. An old mouse was running in and out over the stone doorstep, carrying peas and beans to her family in the wood. Peter asked her the way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him. Peter began to cry.
وجد بيتر بابا في الحائط، لكنه كان مغلق، ولم يكن هناك مكان لأرنب صغير ليمر تحته. ثم رأى فأرا كان يحمل حبات البازلاء والفاصولياء لعائلته، فسأله بيتر: أين الطريق للبوابة؟ لكنه لم يجبه، لأن فمه كان مليئا بالطعام. هز الفأر برأسه فقط.
Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. Presently he came to a pond where Mr. McGregor filled his water cans. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very still, but now and then the tip of her tail twitched as if it were alive. Peter thought it best to go away without speaking to her. He had heard about cats from his cousin, little Benjamin Bunny.
ثم حاول أن يجد الطريق مباشرة عبر الحديقة، لكنه أصبح أكثر ضياعا، حتى وصل إلى بركة ماء، حيث رأى قطة بيضاء تحدق بالسمك الذهبي وتحرك ذيلها يمنة ويسرى. قرر بيتر أنه من الأفضل عدم التحدث معها، لأنه تذكر ما سمعه من أبناء عمه عن القطط.
He went back towards the tool shed, but suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the noise of a hoe scritch, scratch, scratch, scratch. Peter scuttered underneath the bushes, but presently, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed upon a wheelbarrow and peeped over. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor hoeing the onions. His back was turned towards Peter, and beyond him was the gate.
عاد بيتر أدراجه، ولكنه فجأة وبالقرب منه سمع ضجيج مجرفة وحرث. تبعثر بيتر تحت الأعشاب حتى صعد على عربة صغيرة، ورأى رأس السيد ماكجرور يحرث الأرض وخلفه البوابة.
Peter got down very quickly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could along a straight walk behind some blackcurrant bushes. Mr. McGregor caught sight of him at the corner, but Pete did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the wood outside the garden.
نزل بيتر بهدوء شديد من العربة، ثم بدأ في الجري بأسرع ما يمكن على طول مسار مستقيم خلف بعض شجيرات المشمش الأسود. فرآه السيد ماكجرور في الزاوية، لكن بيتر لم يهتم. انزلق تحت البوابة، وأخيرا أصبح آمنا خارج المزرعة.
Mr. McGregor hung up the little jacket and the shoes for a scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. Peter never stopped running or looked behind him till he got home to the big fir tree.
علق السيد ماكجرور السترة الصغيرة والحذاء ليخيف الغربان. لم يتوقف بيتر أبدا عن الجر، ولم ينظر خلفه حتى وصل إلى منزله، إلى شجرة التنوب الكبيرة.
He was so tired that he flopped down upon the nice and soft sand on the floor of the rabbit hole and shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that Peter had lost in a fortnight.
لقد كان متعبا لدرجة أنه استلقى على الرمال في الجحر وأغمض عينيه. كانت والدته مشغولة بالطبخ. تساءلت عما حدث بملابسه. كانت هذه ثاني مرة يفقد بيتر السترة والحذاء.
I am sorry to say that Peter was not very well during the evening. His mother put him to bed and made some chamomile tea, and she gave a dose of it to Peter. 1 tablespoonful to be taken at bedtime.
لقد كان متعبا لدرجة أنه استلقى على الرمال في الجحر وأغمض عينيه. قامت الأم بوضعه على السرير وتحضير بعض البابونج الساخن له.
But Flopsy, Mopsy and Cottontail had bread and milk and blackberries for supper. The end.
لكن فلوبسي وموبسي وذيل القط كان لديهم الخبز والحليب والتوتو على العشاء. نتمنى أن تكون قصتنا قد نالت إعجابكم. طبتم مساء أحبائي الصغار وتصبحون على خير.
Hope you enjoyed the story, boys and girls. Good night and sweet dreams.